Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome on in. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. JJ, my headphones are all messed up.
It's not a good way to start a new week. What a mess.
Oh, there we go.
Who did this?
Yeah.
Was Hans and Scotty in here, or they were on
here.
the remote?
No, they were here.
Oh.
No, they didn't do this. It was my fault. I gotta get in and.
You always have to blame somebody when things go wrong.
What happens is this. So I come in. Scotty G takes the picture of his family down, and he usually has like a doily up with like a flower with some flowers. He makes a home out of it. I come in, he leaves. I put the pictures of my family up. Usually, like there's a nice. I put like one of those diffusers with the DoTerra going.
Well, I don't even want to know what Hans puts up.
It's just full. It's just a spread. It's just a food spread.
Not safe for work items.
So yes, we're back in the studio. Hey, that was fun on Friday, huh? 115 or 112 points between
Football is back.
Between Corner Canyon and American Fork?
Yeah, that was fun.
No problem. 70-42 or 70-45? How did
70-42.
Wow. No lack for that's the way you want it.
If you like offense.
I bet Sly was just his skin was crawling though as a defender.
He was disgusted.
Of course.
No, it was fun.
Oh, I love it.
Those kids are great. I mean, American Fork's a good football team. They're going to be really good. They only had 3 starters returning from last year. And they put 42 on Corner Canyon. That's really impressive. It's just
not the 70 that you
got to be able to score a little bit more to keep up with that offense. Oh. My goodness.
Well, football season's underway. We're dang excited about it. And yes, we'll be back at it again on Friday. I think we're going Bountiful, Farmington.
Farmington will be at Bountiful for our Game Night Live Game of the Week.
But what's Bountiful now? The Red Hawks?
Yep.
Okay. I'll be there. I'll be wearing my Red Hawk.
I almost called them Braves on the broadcast the other day.
Oh, see? Yeah.
I caught myself. I guess I just did there too.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, it's not like the football team, which will not be named. I don't think you'll get in trouble for mentioning. Like half of my neighbors went to Bountiful, and they're like, "It's weird for us. I don't know what to tell." Like I forget that.
So my high school in Wyoming, Star Valley, is still the Braves.
Okay, well, you guys need to catch up to the 21st century, man. You guys gotta wake up. All right, I'm sick of you guys. I can't wait till
Are you telling people in Star Valley to get woke?
I want you guys.
Is that what you just did?
I can't wait for the woke police to get in there and just start whipping you guys into shape over there.
Telling people in Wyoming to get woke. Good luck to you.
That's why people move to Wyoming so they can keep their high schools named the Braves and the Chiefs.
Yep.
My mom's high school had to change up in Washington. Boy, they had to change early too. Washington is a woke state, big time. So lots of those high schools got changed over when I was in high school. So
yes.
Anyway, Bountiful. And the Red Hawks hosting the Phoenix. 2 very strange birds that you're going to be able to see this weekend for Game Night Live. All right, we've got tons to get through. Yes, it is another show. We're firing it up. It's another whole week here. We are officially in. I mean, we're not single digits to the days yet.
Thursday will be game week. Technically, Thursday's game week because it'll be 7 days until the Utes open.
It'll be a week from when they fire this thing up. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This feels good.
This feels real. Good.
I'm telling you. And you know what's funny is we just are so desperate for football.
As soon as we play that sound, there's like a lot of people lined up at our door wanting to hear it.
What's that name? What's that noise? It's college football. It's the sounds of college football. We're going to fire up some hot dogs here in a minute, too, just to make you feel good.
No, not just hot dogs. We got to go brats.
You got to go brats. I got some fake cheese nachos. Let's get it going.
Ooh.
All right. So, yes, college football. We are mere days away. Yes, I can officially say, hey, next week, we're going to be watching our very first football games. We're excited about it. We'll also be rolling out what our this season of our Players Club is going to look like. We, of course, have a BYU and a Utah player who will join us throughout the season. And it's going to be awesome. It's another year of being able to jam with these guys, and they become part of the show. They're part of the show. They're not just a guest. They come on, and if you've ever heard Connor Pay or Devin Kafusi, we've had, of course, in the past. We had Nate Johnson last year prior to him transferring out of Utah. This was a pretty interesting these gets are awesome. And so being able to get that insider info from these players is awesome. We're excited about it. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. So let's fire everything up here. Let's get going with the cut. Let's jump in right here. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com, your local trusted financial fiduciaries, TrajanWealth.com. JJ, lots of things going on here. We have some questions to ask, and we're going to have a BYU player, we assume probably around the same time when they're walking off the practice field in that 5 o'clock hour. We'll be able to bring you somebody as soon as we get them. But we've got tons to break down. By the way, it's not football week like next week is football. I know you did. I know I had to. We had a ton of freaking games of our own little kids that we had to have play this week. So
yeah,
we had a full
Saturday.
Saturday.
UC conference football got underway. I know there's other leagues across the state that those are just happen to be the ones that I run through. But,
right.
It's.
We had a full
all over.
We had a full slate of games.
Season's underway.
We had a full slate of games. We had a lightning delay, so it felt like it was legit. So everything's back under, and all the kids are back in school now, and they're at their football practices in the afternoon. So it feels normal right now.
Here's
in my house.
It's gonna feel a lot normal on Saturday, August 24th. You want to know why?
Why?
We have real college football.
Oh yeah. Wait, who's that first week
Florida
zero?
State, Georgia Tech.
Wow, how's that? They're in Dublin. So hold on a minute.
Erlingus College Football Classic.
Excuse you?
That's what it's called.
All right. This is a family show.
AER.
No, I know.
LINGUS.
I think there's a full SNL. There's a full SNL skit about it because they're like, "Thank you for flying, Erlingus." Like they basically are I think that it's the new updated version of bye-bye. Remember?
Yeah.
That's our day. That's Helen Hunt, right? And
yes.
and David Spade.
Bye-bye.
So,
a classic Saturday Night Live
bye-bye.
skit.
You're very heavy. What'd you say? Nothing. I said bye-bye. Why would I say anything else but bye-bye? You're very heavy.
And bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, what's that book you're reading out there? Don't care. Bye-bye. So, yes, they'll be playing a game next week or this weekend. And that's an ACC game. That's a conference game, isn't it?
Yes.
Georgia Tech and Florida State. There you go.
Weird, right? I think there's.
I recognize both of those teams. Jeremy, other week zero games?
Montana, New Mexico. Montana State.
Oh, boy.
Bronco Mendenhall's New Mexico debut.
I'm Bronco Mendenhall, the new football coach. And I'm the newest. Wahoo.
Yeah.
So.
Not a Wahoo anymore.
I'm telling you right now, the Bobcats are not an easy pushover. Bronco might start off his tenure at New Mexico with a loss to an FCS team. Is that crazy to say?
I could see Montana State going to Albuquerque and winning that
I think they're a top 5 FCS team. Montana State.
Yes.
I don't want either of these freaking guys. Oh, Jeremy's got a line, I bet, on this. What do you have?
Of course I do.
The degenerate comes through again.
All right, let me hear it. What's your bookie telling you?
This is not mine. This is everybody's bookie. This is a home game for the Lobos.
Yes.
Montana State is favored.
Oh, my gosh.
No, they're not.
10 points.
No, it's a double digit. It's a double digit dog line on an FCS team against a Bronco.
Gosh.
That's the craziest thing ever. You know what, though? I could see that is that is wild. I've never heard of something like that. Have you ever heard of an FCS team
a 10-point favorite against an FBS team on the road?
At their place.
Wow.
That I think that just kind of shows you. Has that line moved for Colorado, by the way?
Give me a minute.
The Colorado. Are they playing South Dakota State? They're playing one of the Dakota States.
North Dakota.
Neither one of those teams I want to see either. I pray to Coach Prime's heaven that they lose that game. It would just be so much fun. It would be so fun for college football. And then we'd have to get Jake Shapiro on from Denver Sports and be like, what happened? What happened to your guys?
This is still the greatest era of Colorado football. You don't understand.
No, they only won one game the year before. They won 4 last year. You're like, okay.
This is a miracle.
The Buffs are good.
+9.
Oh, they're still. Oh,
Or
see
-9, sorry. They're favored by 9 at home.
So it keeps.
It's about 7.5 recently.
Yeah,
So.
recently.
Jeremy, honest, is that one you're keeping an eye on? You going to put some cheese on that one?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
It's getting higher, so.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
That's
Yeah,
tempting.
it keeps going up. And so.
That's all the Colorado fans are on top of it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So here's the deal.
Oh, one more thing. One more note.
Another week
well,
zero?
Let me say,
No, I love it.
Hawaii's hosting Delaware State. How about SMU at Nevada? So BYU's going to SMU in a couple weeks, but SMU's going to Reno in week 0.
Nobody wants to be at UNR in the month of August. Come on.
Not at all. But it's a chance for BYU fans to get an early look at their week 2 opponent. It's Saturday, 6 p.m. on CBS Sports Network.
See, if
got some homework, BYU fans.
If college football was smart, they would have had games this last weekend. It's like the -0. Remember the old like Super Mario negative worlds you could go to? That's what this is. Let's go to week 0, week -1.
We're that desperate for college
yeah,
football?
man. Well, I'll be watching Delaware State and Hawaii. You know why?
Midnight, yeah.
It's a free. Yes, it's a midnight Eastern game.
It's a 10 p.m. Mountain
yes,
kickoff.
I'm showing up. I'm absolutely going to
Can
be
you
there.
imagine how many miles is that for Delaware State to travel to Honolulu? To play that game?
Well.
That's
I'll
insane.
tell you again. Hawaii's favored by 38. You don't see a lot of lines like that.
I don't think
anywhere.
Hawaii's been favored by 38
I
since
know.
the WAC days.
I love it. Okay, so college football's underway this weekend. Week 0 fires up this weekend. Will mark. You'll be in full. I think both teams go into game prep mode. Camp will be over this week, at the end of this week or in the middle of the week, depending on which team is what, because Utah obviously has a Thursday game next Thursday, and so they go into game prep mode a little bit earlier, and fall camp will be put to bed this week. That's the good news, and they'll be actually preparing for an opponent, SUU, coming to town on Thursday the 29th. Is that right? So it is 10 days away.
Yeah.
It is 10 days away. So, but let's chat. We're going to have the same discussion about Utah coming up in a couple of hours here. But I want to know what your biggest concerns are. If we're just going to go through and we're going to wonder about this BYU football team, because it's the one thing, and I will convince myself every year that things are worse than they actually are or things are better than they actually are. I want to know what the reality is here. So going in, the concerns for BYU football, I know that everybody feels excited about the fact that TJ Woods is running the offensive line now. But there is that part that goes, if you're wondering if there's a question that needs to be answered, I know the quarterback question obviously looms. But one of the bigger questions to me is that offensive line actually put together? Have they dialed up that talent that they have been so proud of, but that did not match up with the coaching abilities that they had over the past few years? Can TJ Woods dial it up? To me, the O-line is actually the biggest concern because those guys are already set, and you don't know if it's going to be any good this year.
Yeah, you don't. I think you really need to know, especially there. If that offensive line, Alex, comes together, that was a big problem last year, and they all admitted it. But there's talent there. There's so much talent on that offensive line, and I think everything out of that can develop, and that offense can definitely improve on being 120th in the country. But if that offensive line can do what it does, LJ Martin healthy, sounds like he's ready to go. And if that quarterback situation can iron out and that competition pushes both of those guys to be their best and they get the best guy at that position, there's a glass half full approach here that I could take with BYU offense. And they could surprise a lot of people with how good they could be. Because there's talent on that side. We have been talking about the frustration with BYU's offense, the frustration with the quarterback room and that situation. But there's plenty of talent on that offense, on both the offensive line, at the tight end position, at the wide receiver position especially. And you can see that if the quarterbacks can produce and take care of the football, I'm not talking like 4,000-yard seasons. Just execute the offense and take care of the football. You have enough skill guys, and you have enough guys in that running back room with that offensive line at its best to at least be formidable. I don't think anyone's asking for this offense to be top 10 this year. No one's going to expect that. You're 120th in the country last year. But there should be plenty of room for improvement. And if that offensive line clicks.
I love how you thought that fans are going to be reasonable. Because what happens is, you know how it is. People get in and they go, Well, that was unacceptable last year. We haven't seen a BYU offense that inept in a long time. And to not be able to run the football or pass, right? I mean, it was and score. Can't score. Can't figure it out. And you hadn't seen that. And so being able to go, hey, they were 120th. I think they're going to figure some things out. It's also, fans are also wondering, like, if it will ever come back, if there will be a quarterback you ever again. You can't have a quarterback you when you don't have a quarterback, obviously.
We're now in an era, if you're a power 4, you're going to have to buy your quarterback.
Oh, 100%. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, too. I don't know. I don't know if you're a BYU fan and the O-line question. I mean, we have a dog in this fight. We talk to Connor Pay every week during the season.
Yeah.
And he is as brutally honest about their situation as anybody. But he was perplexed last year. Like, these guys did not understand how it didn't translate. Like, what they were learning, what they thought the scheme was. And that disconnect was, it was bad for everybody. He was like, we don't know why this isn't working. And then it just got to the point where it was embarrassing. And he would say, we're embarrassed. We were embarrassed this weekend. We got 2.3 yards of carry. That's embarrassing. So the quarterback question, you can't affect any of that. You can't wonder what's going on there. But I do think that the offensive line is going to be improved. I can't imagine that they wouldn't be able to be improved. The thing is that Power 4 football doesn't wait for anybody. The talent is going to come after you. They smell blood in the water. Teams came into Provo and they did not care that they were that they were not underdogs, but they didn't care that they were on the road in a new place. No one cares about the elevation when you're running it up against BYU. Rocco Beck did not have a problem last year running it up on BYU.
Not at all. Breakout
performance by that guy, right, against BYU. West Virginia, same thing. You would have thought that the West Virginia game was a W. It was a W on everybody's list last year.
We all predicted W at West Virginia because they were picked to finish last in the conference.
Instead,
they made us all look like fools.
Yes. Okay. I think that the running back situation is going to be very interesting. I don't know why we're being told so much about how LJ Martin's doing fine and everything's dandy, but hasn't taken any meaningful snaps in fall camp.
Sounds like he's cleared and he's back and it's all good.
Okay.
That's the latest I was hearing today.
If that's the case, if LJ Martin is 100% LJ Martin and Hinkley Ropati, I love that dude. I mean, we didn't get to see him all last year, but he had that performance against Boise State that made you feel like he was going to be the next guy. But second year of Jay Hill's defense, what's that going to look like? How does Jay Hill turn a corner? Is it because now he's had extra time to get the scheme into the brains of these athletes? Is that, like, in your mind, JJ, do you look at that and go, okay, Jay Hill always figures it out, and he's going to figure this one out as well?
Well,
it might take a little bit longer.
You trust it. Everything he did worked at Utah. Everything he did worked at Weber State. I'm sure it's going to work at BYU. That's not the problem. That's not the question. The question is, does he have the personnel? And you bring in a Jack Kelly, and are we putting too much pressure on Jack Kelly to help give their pass rush a boost when he's not a rush end, he's a linebacker? I know they're going to move him around, but he's playing linebacker. It's not like he's on the other end of Tyler Batty, right? I don't know. Are we putting too much pressure on Jack Kelly to give them the boost that they need? And who takes up that playmaking and that disruptive force that Eddie Heckard provided last year?
Yep.
Who's the guy that's going to create havoc? And Kelly Papinga talked about that at a recent media availability down there, and he talked about the analytics of creating havoc. It's not just sacks, it's putting hits on the quarterback, getting to the quarterback. And I believe it was if you get to the quarterback hits and sacks combined, if it's 10 or more, BYU was 5-1 last year. But we know what happened in the other 6 games.
Right.
That didn't happen at all. They only had 11 sacks as a team. It was dead last in the country, tied for dead last. That pass rush has to be better. They have to be more disruptive in the pass rush. And just think of what would have happened if Eddie Heckard didn't create some of the havoc that he created on the back end, or Jacob Robinson, the interceptions and plays that he made. They have a lot of work to do there. They have to get a lot better when it comes to that, creating havoc, forcing turnovers, getting to the quarterback. They've got to be more aggressive. They've got to be more physical defensively. Otherwise, they're not going to see the improvements they want to see. And it doesn't matter who your defensive coordinator is if your guys out there aren't making those kind of plays.
So here's the good news is that guys like Blake Mangelson and John Nelson, I think that those guys are tremendously talented. And I think that you've got more – I think you had those are your D tackles, by the way, for BYU, right? And so who is it that's next to Tyler Batty? Who's it on the other side? Probably Isaiah Banya, right? But you're going to see a lot of guys. BYU rotates a ton of guys at that D tackle position. And if you're one of those people that want – I mean, the honest truth is that Isaiah Glasker is a freak athlete. You know how big Isaiah Glasker is?
Oh, he's a monster. I remember him in high school.
6'5", like 220?
Like he was a star receiver in high school at Bingham.
Playing outside linebacker.
And now he's filled out. So you had the length and the athleticism, and now you've filled out and put a bunch of muscle on him, which, you know, it's the Utah recipe that Kyle Whittingham's done. Obviously, Kalani, Jay Hill, they know how to do it. They've seen it. And so they've taken guys that, you know, maybe are slim or just athletic, and then they can turn them into freaks. And Glasker looks like the latest freak.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you were to write it down and go and put your name on it, put the piece of paper into a time capsule, and at the end of the year we opened it up, and there was one name on there that you knew was going to be absolutely consistent that you could rely on all year long, but you only get one name from BYU's roster, who would it be?
It's still Tyler Batty.
I'm going different.
It's still Tyler for me because it's proven, and I can't go away from that. I mean, I would love to pick some wild card, but I just keep my mind goes right back to Tyler Batty because he's been able to do it every year.
The whole team.
Oh, you're talking about offense or defense or everywhere?
I'm saying everywhere. I've got one, Jacob Robinson. That's the one for me.
Okay.
That's the name that I think. Now, Tyler Batty is an NFL
Tyler's their best
guy.
Overall, highest ranked
Yes.
player, best NFL prospect currently right now.
Okay.
So I'm going with Tyler.
Okay.
But I would like to see somebody else. And I think it would be in the benefit of that team for it to be somebody else. Somebody else has got to step up and rise up in order for them to get better. And it's probably, obviously, it's got to be a lot more. But who's the star that breaks out this year for BYU? It better be somebody. And they need to have an impact. And if it's on defense or it's at quarterback, then I think you're going to see a big difference with this team. And by defense, I mean the guy that's going to create the most chaos.
I think that Jacob Robinson is a name that wildly he wins the nation's best. He wins the Jim Thorpe Award twice last year, right? The nation's best cornerback or defensive back for that week. He won it twice last year. I think was a Big 12 honorable mention guy at the end of the year. And yet still, his name doesn't come up nearly as much as it should, is what I'm saying. He was a semifinalist, I think, for the for that same, I think it was the Jim Thorpe Award, right? And that's it. I think he was a semifinalist for it, but he had won it 2 different weeks during the season. That's a guy who is absolutely consistent. You need that. Got to have it. Got to have that BYU defense dialed in. Got to have a guy like Jacob Robinson you can rely on. I hope Tyler Batty has an 11.5 sack season. I hope he has it. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, the numbers haven't borne out at all. We haven't seen anything of what these guys could do when it comes to the pass rush.
Yeah, Jacob Robinson has the resume. You mentioned the Jim Thorpe Award. He was a semifinalist last year. 2-time Thorpe Award National Defensive Back of the Week. That's a great honor.
How's he only honorable mention in the Big 12, by the way?
Because there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of dudes on the All Big 12 team last year that are now in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think the Tampa kid out of Iowa State wasn't even first team, and he's in the NFL.
Yeah.
He was drafted. So there's a lot of defensive back depth in that league. Honorable mention, All Big 12 honoree. Phil Steele, preseason All Big 12 third team. Athlon Sports third team. College Football Network preseason All Big 12 second team. So there's some expectations for him, and can he exceed those this year? I think if he is that disruptive force at the cornerback spot, that's a good thing. But I would prefer to see it as somebody getting to the quarterback, because I think that's the key and that's the difference for that defense this year. If they can do that, you got to do better than 11 sacks. If you can do that, then BYU can win more games than they did last year.
All right, we'll do the same exercise coming up a little bit later in the show with Utah. We'll try to figure out exactly. I'm fascinated by the one you just chisel it in stone. The guy you can rely on at the end of the year. That name is going to have a phenomenal year. You take it to the bank. Even trying to predict if they're going to be able to stay healthy, which is a hard thing to do. It's a fun exercise for us, and it's that time of the year when we just start. It's speculating season, JJ.
We love to speculate.
I love to speculate. What do you think we do on sports radio?
We have nothing else to do.
Come on, man.
Until we see a game.
Hello.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for hanging out with us on the program today. Happy Monday to you. Football on the high school level and all the Ute conference. I know up by us we have the WFFL. I know they have other conferences across the state, and it's all started up this weekend. We have all the kids doing all the stuff. It's great. I love it. It feels like football season, and it'll feel right, especially next week when Utah and BYU and Utah State all kick off in week 1. Week 0 fires up this weekend for college football. They're going to be over in Ireland because, nothing says the start of college football season like the Aer Lingus Cup. What are we calling it? It's just the Aer Lingus week 0 because, Florida State.
It's the Aer Lingus College Football Classic.
A classic. See, you can't use the word classic. Yeah, because it screams Ireland. I get it when Notre Dame goes over. I get it.
Why do we keep slapping classic onto inaugural events?
Don't do it. You can't. Yeah. So nothing screams "Kiss me, I'm Irish" like playing for Florida State or Georgia Tech, right? So there you go. But you know what? We have, and I think both of those schools get money for playing in these types of kickoffs. The Vegas one, it's basically become a bowl, right? The ones that they do one at the
Shamrock Series.
Yeah, and then they'll do one down at the Georgia Dome. They still call it whatever, the Mercedes-Benz Georgia Dome, whatever it is now.
Mercedes-Benz, yeah.
Dome. Anyway, they do the same thing. It's a kickoff. It's like the Chick-fil-A kickoff. And you know what it is? It's basically a bowl game. The teams get some payout. It's nice because we're so freaking desperate this time of year for football. My heavens. Speaking of college athletes, and that'd be a fun one to do when you're in college. You get to go over to Ireland, go play a football game over there. I want to know how it is that the rubber meets the road when it comes to the NIL stuff. So CBS Sports did this full deep dive, as much as you could, into the NIL money situation. And they asked coaches anonymously in the basketball arena, all basketball coaches, they asked them to be, they say, look, we'll do this anonymously, but just be as candid as you can. We're just really trying to figure this thing out. And they asked these coaches, what's the most amount of NIL money that these players have asked you for or your staff to be able to pay? And it's interesting because they got all these, they got 100+ Division I men's basketball coaches. So just assume if you have 100+ and there's about 300 Division I, pretty good odds that you've got one of some of the coaches in the state who responded to the anonymous poll, right? So some of this deals with it. What's the most amount of money that people have asked? 10% of, well, I'll start from the 49% of the coaches surveyed, survey says, less than $1 million. 40% of the athletes that were asking for money were asking between $1 million and $2 million. 40%.
Crazy.
If you're going to be, Mom always said, if you want something, you got to ask for it, right? It's like, hey, you're never going to get anywhere in life if you don't just ask for stuff, because 10.5% asked for $2 million or more. And by the way, there are players that are in the running to go to local schools here that are asking for millions of dollars. Okay? It is happening now.
There's a reason why BYU is in the mix for AJ DeBansa.
Whose paycheck am I talking about?
Kids, man. College kids. Could you imagine? I love those ones that are like, how much money are you making out of college? They're like, if you went to Stanford, you could make $113,000 right out of college. It's like players in college are like, hold my root beer. I'm making $3.5 million right now. Now, On3 does these guesses on how much this money would be, JJ, like how much these guys would be worth. No surprise, Shedeur Sanders, according to them, is worth about $4.5 million. That's just per year. We know from what we've heard through the rumblings how much Cam Rising is getting, and it's north of the $1.5 million mark for this year. And $1.5 million for a quarterback in college football, I'll just say right now, is actually pretty darn cheap. Compared to what the SEC and the Big Ten are paying, just assume that the team you root for in this state is actually already behind. That's what we're looking at. That's what you're dealing with. And these basketball coaches are having kids come in and ask for this much money, JJ. It's insane.
The biggest number they heard was $5 million.
For 1 year. Now, if you're good, you only play 1 year in college basketball anyway. You don't even go to class, right?
You're not going to be there long. If you're worth $5 million, you're headed to the NBA draft ASAP. You're not going to class.
I'd stretch it out. I'd be like, ooh, I got that ankle. I'll come back next year. You still got that $5 million? You get $10 million for 2 years of. He signed a 2 year.
You start to get
contract.
to $5 million, Alex, and like all of a sudden, players are like, do I want to go to the pros yet? If I can make $5, I mean, no one's making $5 million. That's crazy. No one's paying that.
Not yet.
But you're right, not yet. $1 million players, yeah, I know that BYU's got a $1 million+ player on their basketball roster this year. Okay,
Is he a foreign name?
maybe.
So
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
So here's what I was going to, because this is the part two. Now, a lot of this is anecdotal, and each school is trying to figure this out. And a lot of it's done in some secrecy, behind doors. One, because, it's the old, like, you kind of don't want all these players asking how much all these other players are making, because then they start asking for insane money. Places that they shouldn't.
That happens in the corporate world.
Right. And
your
that's
boss
exactly
does
right.
not want you to know what your coworkers make.
No.
Right?
So this is why it's interesting, because anecdotally, one of the coaches who was part of this 100+ Division I coaches in basketball that talked about all this money said that they were informed that it would take $400,000 to get a transfer out of the portal, a proven commodity of around 5 points a game at the mid-major level. Who was 5 points a game up at Utah State this last year? Probably like 8 guys.
Right.
So 8 guys deserve the $400,000.
How many points did Bronny score per game last year?
Oh,
at
it was
USC.
like he
came off the bench.
That's $400,000 money, making 4.5 points a game. No, it was 4.5 freaking points a game. Bronny was not great. So another coach said that their staff offered $50,000 for a player, and that player was insulted, and they didn't even call him back. Because guess what? Guess who's negotiating here in these meetings too, JJ? Mom and dad.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes there's an agent, but a lot of times it's mom and dad getting in there going, what can you get us? What can you give us? Just the absolute most annoying thing that I bet coaches are being asked. And they said the high mid-major level, a good player is likely to ask for about $1 million. For a good mid or a high major level good player, so you're talking like a high teens to low 20s a game that they're scoring, is going to ask for an NIL package on a yearly basis of more than $1 million. That's where we're at. This is college, by the way. This is basketball, by the way. Which, interestingly enough, seems to have come a little bit further down the road than the football side of things. It's a lot easier to affect a roster in basketball than it is in football. But that's why they pay the quarterbacks. That's why they pay a running back. That's why they'll pay a big left tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part to me that is the most interesting, is that basketball was able to get a head start on this because it's actually a lot cheaper to get a couple of guys with a couple $1 million in their back pocket than to have an 85, or now it's going to be 100, or is it just 100? 100 guys on your roster that are on scholarship.
105, yeah, whatever, 95, 105,
Yes.
whatever the number is.
Whatever the new number is that they're going to do.
It's easier to make that money. It's easier to get that big bang for your buck in basketball than it would be for football.
But like if Ollie Gordon would have hit the transfer portal, for example, last year, okay, Doak Walker winner, He's like, I can go greener pastures. I can go to Texas. I mean, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Speaking of
How's
teams
their
that need
running back
backs,
depth
how much would Texas pay for an Ollie Gordon?
right now? $3 million.
It's wild. And that's the 40 acres down in Texas. Texas A&M, by the way, would probably show up and give him 5, right? What's weird about Texas A&M is I don't know how, but they've got more money than everybody. SMU's paying players $1 million. It's crazy.
I want to read this line real quick from the story
Yeah.
before we go to break.
Mm-hmm.
So 49% of the coaches who answered this question told us most NIL money their staffs have been asked to provide for a player is a number less than $1 million. But one thing worth understanding is that more than 75% of the coaches who answered that way work outside of the Big 10, SEC, Big 12, SEC, and Big East. What that highlights is that coaches working in those 5 leagues, the only power conferences college basketball now possesses, are mostly in a different world than the world where the mid-major and low-major coaches reside, with the gap between the haves and the have-nots growing. So if you just pulled the Power 4 conferences that are also power, the Power 4, we're talking about football from a Power 4 perspective, those leagues, Big 10, SEC, Big 12, ACC, because they have all the football money and the backing, they can then go out and do things with that mid-majors can't, like a Creighton can't do in college basketball. They work in a different area. They work in a different place with money than those other schools do.
So the biggest part of what they got from this.
So what's happening in football is affecting basketball.
Yeah, for sure. But what they, one of the things they wrote up in this was that mediocre players from mediocre programs are also asking for a lot of money.
The same player who got $50,000 a few years ago is now getting $200,000.
Right, and then a coach feels like they're up against it because then they're suddenly negotiating with this kid or their dad or whomever, and they're trying to get to the Sweet 16.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this must be so difficult. I don't envy those coaches. Although Kevin Young has seemed to figure it out pretty darn freaking quick.
Well, you can figure it out if you got the right boosters.
Yep.
That makes it a lot easier.
All right, nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. We've been pushing this, and we hope that you can submit those nominations. What is it? It's people that are the youth sports volunteers that are making a difference in your area. All you have to do is nominate that person at kslsports.com/contests, and then on Thursdays, we read off who those winners are on our program. So we celebrate those efforts of the volunteers that are making an impact in your community. Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Credit Union and Beehive Meals. You get $200 of Beehive Meals. You get a gift card from Hercules Credit Union. $250 of freebies to that person. And if it's that team mom, if it's the guy who at his own cost prints the names on the backs of the jerseys, if it's the parents that are hauling all the gear to and from, honor those people. Or maybe it's that assistant coach that just really doesn't get the respect that they deserve, and that is the type of person we want to honor. So go to kslsports.com/contest, and let's start nominating more of these Hercules Heroes of the Week. All right, we'll take a break. We will come back. We've got our Weekend Warriors right around the corner. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked into JJ and Alex with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Monday. Mondays mean we review the weekend, JJ. We kind of see the stuff that worked and what didn't. People who had amazing weekends, people who, well, I'll tell you, one of our Weekend Warriors this week was about to be just the dog of the weekend. Hideki Matsuyama, I think four out of his last 6 holes, bogey.
He finished even par in the final round and still won by 2 strokes.
He had 4 bogeys 4 out of the last 6 holes. I mean, he
made it interesting.
That's meltdown level stuff, but he did it.
Schauffele almost got him.
So here's what it sounded like. Wins the first FedEx Cup playoff event in his career.
And Hideki Matsuyama pours in a birdie to make it official. He's got his first playoff win. It came with all sorts of drama. But Hideki headed to the BMW as the champion here in Memphis.
Pretty wild. I saw Scotty Scheffler do something this week that I've never seen him do, JJ. Slammed his club on the ground. Scotty Scheffler. Smooth as ice, Scotty Scheffler, a guy who doesn't get that up or down about anything. And by the way, it was a bunker shot that still put him within 10 feet of the cup, but he was, his thing is like chipping, and he hits it immediately, knows he doesn't like it, and slams his club in the sand. And I was like, dude, even the great Scotty Scheffler melting down a little bit.
He was critical of the playoff process.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at it, and I'm taking a deep look into this, and it's the 3 tournaments, right? Mm-hmm. That's plenty of time for the best player in the world to dominate.
What's he back then in the full playoff standing? Because he started with like a 4-stroke lead or whatever
he
it was.
played well. He's still in good shape. He finished third, tied for third.
Yeah, so he'll be all right.
Or four, I guess you could call it fourth because 2 guys tied for second.
Yeah,
so he finished fourth. He'll be fine. But you point to your point, what you're bringing up, like he's feeling pressure. And the reason why he feels pressure and there's so much pressure with this is there's $25 million on the line for the winner.
Mm-hmm.
$25 million.
I think the winner gets 14 of it, and then the rest, everybody has to fight over. Ooh, that would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? The rest, they'll throw some money at the live guys. You guys want this? No, that's the last thing the live players need is more money. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, so how much do they get?
$18 million.
$18 million for the
winner.
Then everybody else has to fight over the scraps.
If you just make it to the final FedEx Cup playoff event, you get half a $1 million. Just to get there.
It's the ultimate cut that you're making right there. All right, so who are all the – so Tony Finau, he's in it. He's tied for 16th currently.
I'm so sorry. You do get $25 million for winning the thing.
Oh, you do?
It was 18. It's now up to $25 million. The winner of the 2024 FedEx Cup earns $25 million.
Jeez.
The prize money pool for the Cup is $100 million. The top 30 players in the FedEx Cup standings. If you're in that top, I think it's the top 30 players.
You get at least
you're gonna get at least $500,000 bucks.
Not
for
bad.
being in the top 30.
Not bad.
Tony Finau's in position to do that. He was tied for 16th in this week's event.
So they get paid out on this event on top of the fact that because this weekend's event was a $20 million purse still.
Yes.
Matsuyama got $3.5 million for winning that freaking event.
Yeah.
Gosh, the rich get richer.
It's insane the amount of money that's in pro golf right now.
Ask mom and dad for a set of clubs for Christmas.
Hey, do that or go become an electrician.
I know that. I'm telling you.
If it doesn't work out for golf, join the IBEW, right? Go be an electrician because we talked to our guys earlier. They'll be here in a second. Insane amount of money, though. So you got a son that golfs, and that's absolutely the right direction to send him in. At least to try to get a college scholarship. But
look, I'm going to show up at those collegiate meetings, and I'm going to be like, he's going to need $4.5 million.
This is insane. I'm looking at the whole list. Okay, $25 million for the first place. You finish second.
Yeah.
You get $12.5 million. Third gets $7.5 million. Fourth,
boo-hoo.
$6 million. $5 million. Fifth place gets you $5 million for the entire.
Okay. But you saw the PGA Tour has those PIP rankings too, right?
Yeah.
The player, basically the popularity contest.
Yes.
Rory McIlroy won that last year. You know what he got for it? $15 million just for being popular on social media.
That's insane.
Tony Finau got $3 million for the 13th most popular PIP rankings, the PIP rankings, Player Impact Program. Look, I would be focused on that because you don't have to work on your stroke.
No, just be a really nice guy and have somebody run your socials.
Oh yeah, make some fart jokes in the press conference. You'll be good to go, man. Where's my $15 million?
That fart joke just made me $500,000.
By the way, Tiger Woods, who's like not even around half the time, he got second place in
Isn't that insane?
in the PIP bonus, and he got $12 million for being so popular on social media.
And he's got so much charisma.
Oh my. Yes. And really, it was just people interacting with him and his son who were at these tournaments. All right.
That's crazy.
Joining us right now,